Hi, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about the idea of the scientific method, which is a really important way to understand how we... Hi, welcome back. So in this brief talk, we're going to discuss the scientific method.
So the scientific method has been around since the 17th century. And what it does is it helps us escape some of our natural biases and decisions that we make based on, say, hearsay. You know, where did I hear that? Why do I think this way? Why do I make certain assumptions? It's pretty natural for humans. So if we hear somebody who we feel is authoritative at the time say something declarative, oftentimes we'll assume, without questioning it, possibly for the rest of our lives, that particular item or idea is absolutely true. So what the scientific method does is it cleans it up, and it allows us to escape our biases by looking for evidence that we can observe over time, subject to various changes, variables, through testing, and obtain predictable and consistent results. We'll take a look at some of the steps here on the next slide, and after you get an idea of how the process works, start applying it to things in your everyday life. It's pretty effective. So here's what we do. The first thing we got to do is we got to observe a problem. We got to notice a phenomenon that occurs. For us biologists, most of the time this occurs within living systems. Then we ask a question about it. Something along the lines of, I observe that people who are drinking coffee, before tests, maybe they that's supposed to be a coffee cup, I don't know how, but it is, are supposed to be making better grades, right?
There you go, that's a little bit nicer. Are making better grades, right? Or at least you think so. So you decide to ask, maybe, is it the coffee that's impacting the grades? Or maybe it's something in the coffee, maybe it's the caffeine, right? So an idea would be that we should find a testable, falsifiable, basically a yes, no question that we can ask and begin to work out some ways to test it, which is going to allow us to figure out whether or not our original hypothesis is true. So our hypothesis is that yes or no question. But we would say something like, yes, I do believe that the caffeine is helping people study better, or no, I don't believe it's the caffeine in coffee, it's something else. And so what we would do is maybe set up a couple of predictions, or we'll choose, say, maybe the yes one first and say, yes, it's the caffeine in coffee that is helping people do better. So we could predict if we give somebody the same amount of caffeine in another drink, that they would be able to perform equally well on those exams. So if we tested it and it did not support that hypothesis, meaning that the folks that had the alternative way of drinking caffeine, maybe Red Bull or something, didn't do so well, we would know maybe it's another component in the coffee. And we go back to that hypothesis and we say, all right, let's come up with another one that's kind of related to this testable, falsifiable question, right? So we'll say, we believe that it is the way the beans are roasted. So we give people light roast and dark roast the next way around. And maybe that's the one that does support the hypothesis. So we're starting to find out what it is in coffee that helps people do better on exams. You see how it works? So you can do that quite a few times. And you want to repeat and repeat and repeat it because, if anything, you want to make sure the information that you're getting is correct. Let's check out some types of variables that we can change, or we need to observe that we should not be changing, or that we simply observe after we've made some changes. So that is going to be the independent, dependent, and controlled types of variables. I'm actually going to start here on the bottom. Controlled variables are items that we're going to keep the same, that we know that we can keep the same. So if we were going to say, test if feeding mice more food, more calorically rich food, will change their weight, If you feed them more calories, they'll gain weight. If you feed them less calories, they won't gain weight. It's pretty straightforward. You have to think about all the things that might not be controlled for, right? Like maybe you're controlling their calories that they're taking in, but maybe their bedding is a natural type bedding. Is it something they could eat and get calories from? Maybe they can run around a little bit more in some cages, so you want to keep them all in the same types of environments, right? So they have like an equal amount of access to, say, maybe exercise. And you definitely want to make sure that these animals are all maybe having the same genetic propensities. Some have genetic propensities that allow them to gain weight more rapidly than other types. It's not really going to help so much. So you're going to want to think of all the things you control for that could impact your experiment, and just make sure that these controlled variables are accounted for. The next thing you do is you assign an independent variable. So this would be like, what kind of food are you going to feed them? How much are you going to feed them? What are the calories going to look like, right? So these are changes. That little delta symbol means change. Changes that you control that affect the outcome. Now, what type of outcome are you usually looking for? This one. This is the dependent variable. So the dependent variable would be how the observation changes. So it would be, do the mice change in weight? Do they change in, maybe length and height? Maybe they grow in other ways. Right? There we go. So, controlled would be things that could impact the outcome that you need to control for. Make sure they're always the same. The independent variable is usually directly addressing the question or the hypothesis that you're seeking. And then the dependent variable is looking most specifically at the outcome of the change to see whether your hypothesis is going to be accepted or going to be rejected. Was it true or was it false? Was it yes or was it no? Great, so I hope that cleared up a few questions that you might have. I just like to stick this little tiny scientific method thing out on its own, since folks tend to need to go back to it a few times, and this video gets to be nice and short as a result. So if you have any questions, please email me. Please use my class email. If we're in a class where we're using Blackboard Learn or anything kind of similar to that, please just make sure it's you email me from your school address, or else I'm not really supposed to answer it. But the other thing you can do is set up a time to meet with me, and we can go over this and set up a couple of examples if that's helpful. All right, well, I hope you have a lovely day.